some changes over the offseason. Can you give us a little sneak peek about what we can see maybe out of your team's offensively and defensively identity heading into 2022?
Yeah, obviously coming into this season, adding two different coordinators on the offense and defensive side, but I feel like it's going to be great. We're excited about the changes. Offensively, adding Coach Cramsey, coming from Marshall, has a great acumen as a fantastic offensive coordinator. We're going to keep a lot of things very similar. We've been very fortunate, going into year 7 to have some success on offense. So a lot of the similar things, of course, adding some wrinkles to what we're able to do. And, always good when you can add a quarterback, bring back for another year. Seth Hennigan, right, a freshman All-American, coming back for a true sophomore season, and excited about them and so many of the weapons that we have on offense. And then defensively, obviously a lot of experience, a lot of depth there with the new coordinator, Matt Barnes, coming from Ohio State. I think we'll see a completely different defense than what we had in years past, and excited what he'll bring.
Coach, let's now get out to Chuck Sullivan, who will tee up the first media member question.
Thanks, Chris. We'll take the first question from Evan Barnes, please, from the Memphis Commercial Appeal.
Ryan, always good to talk with you. I want to go into, after last season, obviously there was a lot of discussion about kind of, you guys wanted to get better, wanted to improve. What's the motivation or sense of urgency like going into year 3 now, where obviously you guys want to improve from last year being 6-6?
Yeah, absolutely. No one was pleased with last year's record, but as we know in college football, every year stands on its own merits, and we're excited, right? Not only with the new coordinators, but our players are hungry, and we talk about it all the time, having a sense of urgency in everything we do. Obviously, it starts with me as a head football coach. Was displeased with our efforts last year and how we ended up, and that ultimately falls on me, and we've got to be better, and it starts with me, but our players understand the importance of this year just like they do every year. They've worked their tails off this offseason, and there's certainly a sense of urgency, right? We're chasing a championship, and I think that's important. We're working hard, one day at a time approach, but we're excited to see how this season unfolds.
Go to the next one from Frank Bonner, please, from the Daily Memphian.
Hey, Ryan, if you look at last year and some of the games you lost, one mistake here, one mistake there goes another way. The record looks a little different. So I guess, do you find any benefit in that, and the fact that you don't necessarily have to scratch the whole game plan in order to fix what was wrong last season?
That's a great question, Frank. Look, 6-6 is not a record that we want to hang our hats on, and you go back to it, and that's the name and game of college football, right? Woulda, coulda, shouldas, what ifs, right? You look at the UTSA game. We were up 21-0 against an excellent UTSA team, and starting left tackle breaks his leg. The leading running back in the country, leading the country in rushing, goes out with an injury, and then our young 18-year-old quarterback throws a pick six, and next thing you know, we're in a dogfight. No different than Temple, right? Up 17-0. We fumble the ball on the 6-inch line, and then the 5-yard line coming out. But that's the nature of this deal. We go back to 4 years ago almost now, when we played at Tulsa, and they had a young freshman kicker that missed a field goal that was able to bring us College Game Day and then allow us to go to the Cotton Bowl. But that's the way these things are. We did a lot of good things last year, but a lot of things we need to continue to improve upon. Just like within a year, right? You've got to be better and find things that, hey, this was not as good for us last year, we need to improve upon. And that's my job, right? And it starts with our culture, and then it's got to bleed into what we do day to day.
Take the next question from Avery Braxton from ABC 24, please.
Hey, Coach. Offensively, obviously, Seth Hennigan had a great year last year, but the run game wasn't as strong. He's going to have to find a new favorite target in the pass game, but how do you guys improve that run game and make it easier for him?
Yeah, look, ultimately the running game starts up front. The offensive line's got to do a better job sustaining blocks and being able to finish. We had a plethora of running backs, almost too many, right? We talked about running back by committee. And guess what? All those running backs are back again this year. So we're going to need a few of those guys to step up. I love having a lot of talent back there, and they make each other better. But we don't want to get to the point where you have 5 to 6 different starters. So we're going to need some of those guys to step up. And then the run game, right? It talks about wide receivers blocking the perimeter, tight ends doing their job, quarterbacks carrying out their fakes. And then anytime you have the ability to stretch the field vertically, right, maybe that does help out the run game. Obviously, we got to do a better job schematically, making sure we're putting our guys in the best positions to have success. But look, the run game has been excellent here for 4 years, and last year we were displeased with the overall efforts, and we did a lot of off-season studies and a lot of things we can do to improve upon.
We'll go now to Dan Tortora, please. Wake Up Call DT.
Coach, taking a look at the fact that, obviously this is going to bring some change. And you spoke about one of the games you had played last year against a team that's going to be in the American Athletic Conference shortly, with 3 going out and 6 coming in. I know you have to play the team that's in front of you, but just what your thoughts are on realignment and the fact that the American will adjust after this season as well.
Yeah, it was no different last year when people started talking about the whole realignment deal. There's absolutely nothing we can do in our current situation, right? Whatever I do today will not affect what's going to happen that's destined for this conference and realignment. And that's part of it. And we can only focus on this season. But we do know this conference is fantastic, right? The AAC is a wonderful conference. This is now going on my 7th year here. Obviously, we are losing 3 teams, but the addition of those 6 are great teams. Anybody that looks at their track record of the teams coming in, the universities and the type of programs we're adding to the fold will only make our conference stronger. Realignment, it's part of college football, right? And I think we all know, expect the unexpected. And I'm sure when chips may fall, things may not be the exact same as we are talking about today.
We'll go down to Mark Giannotto from the Commercial Appeal, please.
Hey, Ryan. I'm curious, with what you went through in the kicking game last year, are you approaching, I guess, I don't know if the identification process, or did you approach the recruiting process differently? How will you approach, finding a kicker after, it obviously stung you in a couple games that maybe, it really could have helped having a reliable kicker. How do you solve that problem, I guess, is simply put?
Yeah, our kicking game wasn't up to the standard that we expect here at the University of Memphis. We've been so fortunate, right? Our last 2 kickers are Pro Bowl type caliber guys in the NFL right now, and obviously Skowski before that. So our kicking game wasn't what it needs to be last year, and I don't hide from that. We had a great freshman kicker that was highly recruited out of high school that was injured most of last season. So excited to see what David Kemp can do. Obviously, the addition of the grad transfer, Chris Howard from the University of Florida, has had success at a major Division I level. And then we have Noah Grant also, who'll be in the mix. So we got 3 guys that we feel are capable. I think competition brings out the best of people. Certainly an area we need to improve upon, but I think just going into fall camp, we're better than we were last year.
We'll go next to Leo Haggerty, please, Amped Up Sports.
Coach, when you look at your schedule and everything like that, how important is it to get out of the gate strong early?
Sure. Leo, you look at our schedule, you're exactly right. You start off in Starkville to open the season versus an SEC opponent, and then, the next game is at Navy, and that's part of it. That's college football, and that's probably, people would say on paper, those may be your 2 hardest away games. Look, we respect every opponent we play, but it's going to start with that first one. And we're excited about going down there and playing Mississippi State again. They do a heck of a job. But we got great leadership, and I think that's part of it, right? So whether we're 2-0 or 0-2, we won't even talk about that. It's one game at a time approach, with leaders like Quindell Johnson and Zay Collins and the rest of the leadership on our team. They're going to steer this ship the right way, right? And so whether a game is 1-3-0 or 72-0, or it's a tight battle that goes to overtime, our players believe in the way we do things in the process. So getting out of the gates is important. We always want to talk about starting fast, but we understand it's a long season. We're going to come out swinging when the season starts down in Starkville, and then we know one game at a time approach, but we're excited as this season unfolds.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Go to Frank Bonner from the Daily Memphian for a follow-up, please.
And Ryan, on the defensive side, you look at the last 2 years, you guys have ended the year kind of strong defensively, but how do you approach that side of the ball and getting them to be consistent from start to finish for a full year?
Yeah, and I think that's a key with any, segment, right? Offense, defense, special team is the biggest thing you want to see is consistency, right? When you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds, we talk about it all the time, is, being consistent with what you do. And on that defensive side of the ball, you're right, we have finished the last couple of years and better statistics than we have started the season. And so I think these guys have bought into this new system. I think they like it. I think it's a better fit for our personnel that we have here at the University of Memphis. And I think that we'll be able to start a little bit faster than we have. And they understand it is a consistent deal, right? And we hope it's a 14-game season, but with, like I said earlier, a one game at a time approach. and going out there and understanding their fits, right? You talk about just answering the previous question. We're going to start off facing two completely different offenses, right? The spread air raid offense of Mike Leach, and then you got the triple option with Coach Ken up there in Navy. Two completely different deals. So, right, hey, you may say that first game, well, the rushing stats for the offense, good job by the rushing, by your defensive line linebackers. And the next game you say, well, great job by the secondary, and you're just comparing it game by game. But the reality of it is we've got to show up and show that we can play at a high level. We feel like we really like our depth on the defense side of the ball. A lot of leadership there, a lot of guys that play a lot of quality football here at the university. So I think that's going to be part of it, Frank, is staying healthy and playing strong every single game.
We'll go next to Brian Moss from Tiger Sports Report, please.
Hey, Coach, if you could talk about the improvements that the university is doing. You got new field turf down this year. Just how important is that for your team and the university?
Yeah, look, I think when we talk about the university as a whole, we talk about our city, which it starts with, it's all tied in, right? The city of Memphis continues to grow and the right nature continue to be cleaned up, and we're really excited about it. And then the university, right, reaching the Carnegie R1 status, it's been tremendous for us. And then the amount of things are being able to put into our athletic facilities, right? As we're speaking right now, they're putting quite a few $1 million into our baseball facility, but our football facilities are some of the best in the country, right? This brand new indoor practice facility that's only 2 years old, brand new video board in there, brand new turf at the Liberty Bowl, which is absolutely beautiful at Simmons Bank Stadium. So just excited about those things that we're able to continue to do. And I think it all goes hand in hand. You talk about, not to get off on a tangent, but back-to-back years having the highest graduation rate in the conference, on paper, highest recruiting classes in conference history, in program history, highest GPA in program history. And then also you tie that back to, 8 straight bowl game appearances. Those things all speak for themselves, and what that's allowed is people continue to buy in and invest in our program, that care and understand that what they're doing for their student athletes, especially in our football program, matters.
We'll go back to Evan Barnes from the Commercial Appeal for a follow-up, please.
Ryan, you guys have to replace Calvin and Sean, obviously, on offense, and that's going to be a challenge because obviously both those guys did so much in the passing game. We talked about how this is going to be a receiver by committee. How is that going to look this year, just with having to replace, 2 very productive guys?
Yeah, look, it's very hard to ever just sit there and say you're going to replace Calvin Austin and Sean Dykes. Obviously, 2 prolific players on the offensive side of the ball that had a lot of success, especially when it came to receptions. But you talk about the depth at wide receiver. You got guys like Javon Ivory, Markel Jones, Joe Skates, Gabe Rogers, all these guys, Kobe Drake, that we expect to step up and play a big role in what we want to do offensively. Eddie Lewis, guys that you've heard of that may have not had the number of catches as the Calvin Austins, but I think we're going to be able to see a lot of these guys go out there and do big things for us on offense. And then he's built completely different, but at the tight end position, a guy like Caden Piercecorn, we're expecting a lot of big things. Caden's 6'6". 256 pounds, completely different looking tight end than Sean Dykes. So kind of excited about the ability to go out there. And I think one of the questions that was asked to me a couple weeks ago was, having a young quarterback, sometimes it's nice to be able to rely on a Calvin Austin because that, hey, he's there and sometimes I can throw the ball to him. But now as Seth has progressed and these wide receivers another year in the system, I think it's going to be that much more attainable to have success in the passing game because of this depth at wide receiver.
We'll take 2 more. We'll start with Trace Trilco, please, Sons of UCF.
Coach, you face 2 programs in Houston and UCF at home. Is there a little extra motivation to send them out of the American by protecting your home turf?
Look, we always want to protect our home turf. We've been very fortunate to have a great record over there over my last 6 years here, but there's no place like home, and there'd be nothing sweeter than to send those teams out with a loss. But look, those games are down the road. There's no extra motivation. Our guys will be fired up for every single game we play. Obviously, there's been some rivalries there and some history, which is fun, and I've been very fortunate to be a part of it, but so many of our great players have as well. And when those games come, I can promise you there'll be plenty of motivation to handle our business at home.
And we can take the last one from Evan Barnes with the Commercial Appeal if he has one more.
I got 3, Ryan, I guess. So obviously with the run game, there were some questions last year. How do you see that run game kind of developing? I know Brandon Thomas played a key role, but how do you kind of see that room looking at this point?
Yeah, look, I think that's the thing is we're not going to sit there and pinpoint and say this is our back. we know we got a lot of capable running backs. And I think last year we started 5 different running backs. So Evan, really, like everything, I let it all play out. We got to stay healthy back there. So, Brandon Thomas was able to start the first 3 games of the season. If you look after those first 3 games, he led the country in rushing. Unfortunately, he had some injuries, and that cost him not only statistically, but what we were able to do in the run game. And then you look at guys that played. Marcavius Weaver started versus Navy at one point. Asa Martin has started the last couple of years at the end of the season. We've been a little chipped up. Rodriguez Clark is a young man that's been productive for us. You talk about the transfer of Jay Ducker, right? We'll see what he does. And Darius Coffey's another name that a lot of people haven't heard a whole lot of. And so I think that, be able to see the addition of Sutton Smith, a true freshman that is a dynamic football player. So we're going to roll the dice and see what shakes out. But it's not like we're sitting there saying the cupboard's bare.